This is going to be our flag.
There you go.
Shall we stand for the pledge? Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. And a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda this evening?
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Groves, is there a second? Second from Ms. Meyer. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ms. Woodard. So, the reopening plan.
Yes.
Do you have anything that you want to comment on it since last night?
Well, we have made the updates that we talked about last night in last night's meeting, namely the face covering requirement, and also the schedule having Group A be on Monday, Tuesday, Group B Thursday, Friday, having Wednesday as our remote learning day, and having that as our deep cleaning day as well. So those were the major changes for the overall broad plan. A lot of the questions I'm getting are very operational and logistical, which we can tweak and change as we go, but we really need the start date of school, planned with this schedule, and that's the board's real goal, is to give us that broad okay to go forward with this. And then, of course, any direction that you want to give about looking into other protocols and things that you think we should look at.
Right.
One thing that somebody brought up today, we have a Monday holiday. That's just going to be a Monday holiday. It's not going to go to Wednesday.
No.
We have Monday holiday.
We have to preserve the Wednesday clean. That's the objective.
Right.
Right. Okay. Somebody. Yeah.
Yes.
Also, I was talking to, I don't even remember who I was talking to now, but people should be aware that, and if I'm wrong, correct me, but if you desire for whatever reason, you request to get approval for your student to be 4 days in the classroom. While we're in this AB model, that student, the same thing is taught on Monday, Thursday, that's taught on Tuesday, Friday. Is that true?
Right.
So you got to know that they're going to get, if they're sitting in the classroom getting instruction, the same materials can be covered on.
It could be, but you also have your digital learning stuff that you would have been doing.
Right.
So
you could have that with
blended
you.
Right. Learning model. Teachers have been doing that for different reasons. So that would be okay to accommodate. The other thing, though, is to remember that you can't just take everybody who wants to go 4 days. So it will be an application process, and it will be a capped number, because the whole idea is to keep those numbers low, so we can manage and go through these protocols, these new protocols. So you have to apply, and there will be a criteria model very similar to one that we use for like our preschool program, access. So we're making sure that our vulnerable student groups get access first. Okay, so there'll be criteria there. So you do have to apply, and if there's space, those who apply will get in. But we can't go over that.
Can we set that closer to you?
Sure.
Who are vulnerable groups?
Vulnerable groups include ESL students, special needs students, economically disadvantaged students. So those are our three at-risk groups that we look for to serve, and that's what the state also pushes to.
IEP 504.
Yep, IEPs, 504 plans, ESL, yes, yep.
How would the parents apply?
Mm-hmm.
How would the parents apply?
There'll be an application form, and when we call, we're going to call every family. So we will say, this is your schedule. We intend for you to be in this group. Is there? Do you have a preference for all remote or 4 days? And then here's the application process for the 4-day model. Remote's a little bit easier if you want to do that, but so there'll be that process as we do our phone call.
I was wondering about can people just choose based on their preference for remote learning or in-person learning? Is that correct, or do they have to meet do they have to prove that they're sick in order to do remote learning? Or?
There'll be certain requests on the form for remote learning. The question was an application for remote. And yes, I mean, ideally it'll be if there's a medical reason that you feel like you need to stay home. But we want to be flexible too. There is a lot of parents who feel they can support at home. But during our phone conversation, we will have, do you have the tools you need to truly support this kind of learning? Because it's not going to be like quarter 4. Okay, so it's not going to be the pared down, just get through the year, do the project kind of thing. This is the real curriculum. So you have to understand that the access to the teacher isn't going to be the same as the in-person. We're going to do our best to accommodate on our remote learning platforms and things, so that parents need to be aware of that too and be sure they have the tools necessary. Now, remote learning doesn't mean virtual. So I get a lot of that question. Well, what if I don't have internet? Doesn't necessarily mean you need internet, but you do need to have the tools. So we do plan to give everybody a device and on those and help package that plan. So just kind of, we did that quite a bit during quarter 4, put together learning packets and flash drives and things like that. But until I get my teachers in to help formulate what that looks like, our goal is to have 3 weeks in advance at any given time. So that's why we want almost a whole month of teacher planning time up front to be sure we have enough time to do that.
We asked some questions last night about virtual Virginia. Are you able to answer any of those?
Virtual Virginia?
Yeah.
So
What I said.
at the high school level, we do intend to be as flexible as possible with virtual classes. I'm working with the guidance department now at the high school level. Here are your virtual options for courses. We have a lot to do to flesh that out a little more and be sure our contracts are in place and the transfer credit will be fine and all of that. But the guidance department will release that and it'll say, here are your approved courses. We also have that here, but for our remote learners, that might be the best way and alleviate a lot of the work on the teacher to have to also simultaneously teach the in-person class. So we're working on being flexible with that. Yes.
And one more question on masks. I know from having been, again, at the Headwaters group, it's going to be hard to keep the kids in masks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering, I mean, teachers are vulnerable, and I'm wondering if I would really like to see us having N95 masks for staff who's in the classroom rather than just cloth masks, because there's not a way really to not have a kid pull their mask off just because they need to. And
Right.
And the N95 ones are the only kind. I mean, this is protecting, if I have the virus, I'm not spreading my droplets, but not really keeping me from absorbing droplets.
Right.
My
So,
nasal patches
and we've asked any staff who feel, or who need that additional accommodation to let us know. But kids will also have the cloth masks, and so will teachers. And yeah, anytime we're in transition in the lines, getting closer, we should all be wearing them. But
I just feel that we have a lot of liability if we haven't offered protection that we know will actually keep virus particles from being inhaled by our staff. And I think that's a primary concern of mine is staff actually being, I just really think we need to protect the staff and have them feel as comfortable as they can.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Do we have a supply of N95?
Not a huge supply. They are,
Are
but
they even available now?
that's the hard thing: the supply and demand on
It's really
N95.
I mean,
So
you listen to the news and they can't get them from hospitals.
right.
Yeah, it's tricky.
So that's why at first accommodation, some staff do feel comfortable with the cloth and just say I'm okay with that. But we do have some vulnerable teachers that have already requested additional PPE, and we do have additional other kinds of PPE, including face shields and face masks, which provide another mode too. And then there's also the consideration for younger grades too, who for language and literacy development really do need to see my mouth moving and how I'm developing language. So we
Yes,
have to be
for
mindful
sure.
of that too. So that's why face shields are important for our younger elementary kids too.
So tonight, we make a decision that August 24th is our target.
Mm-hmm.
Your hope is that everything's lined up for August 24th.
Correct.
But the truth is, you see that it's not going to happen. We'll have to adjust.
Absolutely. And at any time during the rollout of this, we watch health data, we watch all of that. So if in our local community we don't feel safe still and there's still a spike coming up, we may have to push it back further and say we're going to do a phase 2 model right now and focus on prioritizing. But we have to be very careful. So the administration can do that without board approval. I just need an approved calendar to be able to manipulate, like a snow day, right? So I can be able to call a,
Yeah.
Well, we've
health
seen what-
watch
we've
days
seen
or something. Nobody's on.
All the surrounding schools.
Yeah,
I mean, Arlington changed today.
yeah,
They're going to go total virtual.
So is Manassas.
Huh?
So is Manassas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 3 days a week, we're going to be virtual learning, distance learning.
Yep.
But it's going to be more intense than what it was
it will be, yes.
the spring semester.
Yeah, our teachers had 2 weeks to try to get through the rest of the curriculum in quarter four. They did a phenomenal job, but now we're giving them a whole month of training and upfront
How
planning.
available are the teachers going to be, and how much of a possible workload is that for them?
It's going to
To
be a
try to
lot.
help those students, because like I said, I know with my 5th grader, we struggle
Oh yeah,
between trying to work and get this kid his lessons and understand some of the stuff he's doing in 5th grade. I didn't think so.
right.
But try to work through it. That's a lot of work.
Yep,
That's
it is.
asking a lot of 4th, 5th, 6th grade kids.
It is a lot, and so that's why we were adamant we needed at least one day a week that's dedicated, that teachers can plan and reach out to those distance learning students and make sure kids are accessing what they need to access. And then the great thing about having the in-person too is you get the direct instruction from your teacher at school with help, and then you get set up on your devices for your distance learning days too.
Every 5 days, but
Right.
how much are the teachers preparing for that? Are we able to support them? That's a lot of work.
It is.
If
And
they're
we,
in class 4 days a week, and then these kids going to suck up their evenings and they time Saturday, Wednesday.
yeah, and we do plan on having some virtual support staff too available to help students on those off days too. So we've already had requests from different subs and retired teachers and other people who can help. So we're hopeful to add another system of supports that way.
Hotline?
That'd be neat too. Little homework
Something
half
like-
up.
Well,
I can't
some
figure
kind of
out
office
this.
hours or something.
Office hours, yes, and most schools are doing that with those having certain office hours. This is when I'm available to be here on Zoom or phone calls or whatever. So
Yeah, is there
yeah.
a way to do a hotline, a Zoom line, where kids can say, hey, I'm having trouble with understanding this, I don't go back to class for 5 days,
right,
it's due Monday,
right.
can you help me understand?
And those are a lot of the logistical things we need to work out as soon as we have the framework plan, and we will do that. Well, how best can we support our learners? What platform? And I've had the other question too, what if my kid's advanced and wants to continue on? But we still plan to do enrichment folders on those lessons. So if you finish up, then you can go into the enrichment folder, go a little deeper, and get some more information. So
My first grader could go in and do 2nd grade work and fuck it on. I think she got it done. That's still possible.
to a point.
Just
Once we have the framework done, and it depends on what teachers are able to package and put together on the new platform. It is a lot. So depending on that, but there's always things that we have that support the learning with apps and some of the IXL programs and Imagine Learning and different things that kids can go on to practice skill building and things. But the Google platform will allow them to put in specific lessons, videos, preloaded, and things like that. So, but they're going to need time to do it, and we're going to need a lot of support to do it. So.
That's what I say. Or do we have support for the teachers? It's a lot of work to
It
do.
is.
But some type of a hotline question on worksite, chat on something would be nice.
That's neat. That's a good idea.
And thinking about if we do go back to all virtual learning, I mean, I think that it could have been enhanced if we could have had safe meetings with teachers periodically. I don't know if we could think about that. If people choose when we're in phase 2, but they want to do online learning, they could do a Zoom call with their teacher personally or something like that. I know there are people in households where there are people at risk and they might not feel comfortable going to school, but they would like to have a little more contact with their teacher.
Right.
That's something that I just would like to consider that.
We can consider that.
All right. Are there any other comments? So here's how I see. So I'm trying to write down what I believe the motion's going to be.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
here's what I got so far. It could be it's too much. We need to chop it back. But basically, it's this. So what we called last night the revised model is now in the new document called the original hybrid model. We're going to be referencing that in the new document. The motion would end up reading. August 24th, 2020 start to school, using the new initial AABB model with applications for exceptions, with agility to fall back or move ahead as metrics demonstrate our posture or something like that. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's really where we're headed. Is there any questions about us giving that room to superintendent to make things start happening?
One thing that we didn't address at the last meeting very specifically was facilities aspects of how we're going to lay out our classrooms, how we're what kind of filtration, if any enhanced air filtration is going to happen. I'd like to understand a little bit more about that, about what is going. I know things have been explored. I'd like to understand. It's mentioned in here the cleaning.
Yes.
Can we go over some of that, please?
So, oh gosh, and I don't have my facilities director here, but there are special filters that we are getting quotes for that are CARES Act reimbursable, and those could be either our facilities money or our local CARES funds for our school district. So we're waiting on a quote for that, but amping up our filtration twice. But we're looking at two different types of ionization that happens on those two. So I'm still awaiting quotes on that. Some things may be a little cost prohibitive, but there's other things we can do as a second. This is what the best thing we want to do. We want to install those ionizations where we don't have the best air circulation, where we know we've identified those systems where they are and where they should go. So we're awaiting quotes on those, but that is that's the intent. So the air
They have it
filtration.
by the time.
Oh yes.
we
Oh
start
yeah. Way
school.
before that.
Yeah,
Yes.
well before that.
Yes. Well before that. Honeywell's on it, and they've already come in and helped us reset what our filtration start time and end time are to enhance even more fresh air. We've fixed some of the units to. This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the technical side, not. But yes,
Going on.
those things are going to happen too. So
And they'll be completed
well before.
before
Yes.
staff comes back.
Good. Is there anything else? Yep. If anybody from the public has anything you would like to add before we take our next step, anybody?
Is this the public comment time?
Yeah.
This is public comment time, so hold on a second. Are you ready?
Okay. I just wanted to comment a little bit about what you said about a hotline. I bet the National Honor Society, they're going to need service hours.
Yes,
That
they
might be
will.
something we set up with
Where's that?
the
Yeah.
advisor and
Yep.
have the older kids need tutor help online or tutor help by the phone. Curriculum-wise, I just wanted to, as a parent's viewpoint, tell you that kids hate IXL. You know, Con is so much better, they get so much more out of it, but they miss one mistake when they're at 97%
I
on
know.
IXL and they go back to 60% and it takes them an hour to get back. Everybody hates it.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that.
It's a time sink. It really is.
All right, thank you. Next.
Kristen Fraser, and I'm a special teacher here at the.
Hey, Chris,
Could
could
you
you
come
come
up a little
closer?
Sure, I can. I don't project
Now,
very well. I don't project very
now
well.
you could sing.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right.
So I wrote it down because I can't remember everything that I want to say. So, when the inertial survey came out, I voted for this plan. I thought I looked at that. It's easiest to fix it out too, but I was wrong. I thought our kind of community was not, was insulated from the virus. And in the past 2 weeks, I've talked to spread the local church and found that more communities in our surrounding area. I have to understand, no matter the mandates, I went force the people. Cannot control how families in this community respond to the pandemic. And you stated last night that parents and families aren't social distancing. They're already mixing. You cannot control that part of it. So the only safe plan is the virtual plan, but I don't think that we can go with that either. So I asked that you consider a slower plan for reopening. For the youngest children, the at-risk children, and the special education students are going in first. And it limits the amount of adults in the building. Sharing space, breathing the same air, we know to be the number one way that it's transmitted. And so there's still so much unknown about this virus, especially the long-term effects for people who get it and you can survive it. But as someone who has asthma, I know that I'm more at risk of possibly breathing if I touch it. So I want to be in this building. I want to be with my students.
Sorry. We have been receiving a lot of feedback, by the way. Well, I have, through texts and emails, and we had a good set of comments last night. And so appreciate everybody that shared your perspective. I guess in the end, a parent's going to be a parent. They're going to do what they think's best for their home, and we got to roll with that. Right. Everyone else? All right. We have one action item, and I have stated this. I'm going to go ahead and state it. And Amy, I'm going to give this to you so you don't have to try to figure out what I say.
Thank you.
But it's kind of, I hope it reflects what we need tonight to get things rolling. And it gives us an ability to put on the brakes and to accelerate if that's what the data shows. Okay? So I'm going to make this motion that on August 24th we start school with what is now called the initial AABB model with applications or exceptions to the model. With the agility to fall back or to move ahead as the metrics demonstrate our health posture. All right? So that's the motion. Is there a second? We have a second from Mr. Rubin. Is there any discussion?
Glad that it's a flexible plan and will take into account the real health data around the virus outbreak.
Thank you. Anyone else? All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And it is unanimous. Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn? We have a motion from Mr. Rubin. We have a second from Mr. Grove. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And the meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much.